Man got arrested for honey. He went to Jamaica to visit his mother. He loves honey, so he purchased 3 bottles of honey and traveled back to Baltimore. Well, officials in the airport believe that—
oh, he's black.
Surprise!
Shocking.
Authorities were suspicious about the bottles of honey, so they decided to test it, and they claimed that when they conducted a test, it came back positive for meth. Apparently, these professionals don't know what meth looks like because it doesn't look anything like honey. But nonetheless, he spent 3 years in jail even after they had tested the substance again and found that it was not in fact meth. They tested the substance—
3 months.
Did I say 3 months?
You said 3 years.
Oh, I'm sorry.
3 months.
3 months, my bad.
Still egregious.
3 months, but so he was in jail for a month, 20 days specifically, before they finally decided to test the substance. Then they tested the substance and found that it's not meth, and he still spent 2 additional months behind bars.
Yeah, look guys, so couple of horrible parts of this. So he's got a green card. In the old days, before Trump, green card meant you could do everything but vote. You had all the rights of a citizen except voting, okay? No joke, that's how it's supposed to be. But now they're like, I don't know about that. So the guy comes back from Jamaica, he's a perfectly legal resident of the United States of America, has a green card, but since they think it's meth, which they just made up, there's no evidence that it's meth, they're like, okay, you're going to a federal detention facility. Oh, Jesus Christ, because of your resident status. Look, I don't ever remember them doing that to green card holders before. I don't know, there might have been a couple of instances, I'm not positive, but that is certainly outside of what I'm used to in dealing with in law enforcement. And then, okay, so you think it's meth, then since you made that up, you gotta prove that as soon as possible because you put the guy in prison in a federal detention center because you're so convinced of this. So the first test comes back and already it's a crime that he's been there for 20 days because normally you can get bail and you could just walk out, right? But because of this crazy situation, he can't even get out. So then after you test it and you find out it's not meth, it's insanity to keep him in prison. Insanity.
Look at
I mean, even if you're gonna test it again, like, it's a black guy who's some sort of immigrant. Obviously, it's gotta be meth. I mean, it says it's not meth, but it's gotta be. Okay, fine, test it a second time, right? Because you're really out to get the guy. But let him go in the meanwhile, it came out that it's not meth. It's so.
They put him in danger by putting him in prison because
lost his job.
He lost his job. He could have been, something could have happened to him, like a lot of the stuff that happened to the guys in the Central Park 5. Khalif Browder killed himself because he was wrongfully incarcerated for so long in a federal prison. He couldn't take it anymore. But the thing, and come on guys, he came from Jamaica. You're looking for ganja. You're not looking for no meth. Meth you go find in all these towns throughout the United States of America, filled with poor white people who are doing meth. They're selling it, and not that people of color don't do meth, but let's keep it all the way real. This is the thing why I am decided to move in a different direction, and I tell people of color all the time, you can complain about ASAP Rocky all you want. ASAP Rocky is not the problem. The problem is these institutions, these organizations, all that outrage and cancel culture needs to be directed to that. Cancel those local politicians, cancel these federal politicians. Stop putting your money in corporations that fund your supremacy, the white supremacy. How many more stories, how many more videos do we need to watch? You knew he was black when you read that. You know why? Because that's what happens to black people, and it continues to happen because we do not put our power to overturn the government, and we're too busy canceling celebrities on Instagram.
Yes.
We need to focus our attention on the money and the systems that hold us back, and stop putting money into the corporations of the people who oppress you.
One thing I want to just quickly add, I totally agree with you, and cancel culture I think is 100% directed at the wrong people 95% of the time. But one other thing is, look, I get meth, liquid meth apparently does have a yellow tinge to it. It doesn't look like honey.
Right.
I looked at the bottles of honey, pictures of the bottles of honey that they took from him. It's dark, it's like almost orange, right? It's obviously not meth, and it was, why did they think, I mean, I've actually traveled to other countries and brought back honey because I love honey, right? No one's ever questioned me, no one's ever stopped me, no one's ever asked whether or not I'm hiding drugs in my bottle of honey.
Yeah, Honestly, the other reason I knew he was black was because he was visiting relatives in Jamaica. And if you're wondering, because this is the right wing always like, yeah, but he must be guilty of something, right? They must have had a reason to suspect him.
Yeah, he's guilty of trying to build a life in America. Okay. Don't make that mistake.
Okay, no criminal record whatsoever. No reason to suspect him of anything. And finally, I want to correct one of you guys who said he lost his job. He was Jamaican. Of course, he had 2 jobs.
3.
He was a cleaner and a construction worker, but kidding aside, he did lose both jobs. Who's gonna give him the money for all that time? Who's gonna give him back his freedom? Who's gonna compensate him for all that stuff? And all based on assumptions on who he is. On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.